in my own life multiple times when I was younger, through various mental health issues and stuff.
Is that like when you were a teenager or?
Between the ages of 15 and 25. I'm 36 now. Yeah, so I believe that it enabled me to see things that other people couldn't see. So I was also, when I was young, was a child preacher. So I believed and always
child preacher
for the Baptist church. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, speak in tongues and all. I used to make it up a lot of the time.
When you say child, like how old were you?
I was 6, 7.
No way.
Around
Seriously?
Yeah.
Is it because your parents were in the church or something?
Because my mum, the church looked after us when my mum fell ill.
I've never come across a 6-year-old preacher, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But people would listen, and I carried on for that from 6 to about 12, worked in that, doing that, and then I had some experiences that made me really not. I don't believe in this sense of a God that's completely judging, or this sense.
So you don't believe in like an organized religion?
Yeah, an organized religion. I believe in a system of beliefs that we. System of beliefs that we kind of all build on ourselves, and in knowing that, and knowing that there's a greater energy in that, brings us into a sense of understanding each other. So there's a unity in knowing that we're connected, and that everything is outside of what you see as the physical realm. There's a lot more like stuff that like music, like art touches on. But it's the same thing I would assimilate to religion, to a personal belief system. Something you can't see and fully understand, but yeah, it touches you in a way that you can't express in any other.
Yeah, I think that's the key. When you said personal belief system, it's subjective.
Yes.
So everybody has a subjective experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if everyone has, let's say, different experiences, how is it connected? Because to me, a connected. It's like a central system.
You feel something. We all feel similar emotions in a similar circumstance.
Well, not similar.
But that's subjective.
Like
I believe that. Yeah, I believe you do.
Everyone has different experiences based on their environment, based on the friends that they have, based on.
100%. But then there's this unified sense of like, oh, I feel this today, I feel that today. And more time, people are feeling the same way as each other.
That's the thing.
In a circle. It depends on who you connect with and how you connect.
Exactly. That's again the key thing. So there, you might have like a set of friends with whom you can connect quite easily.
Yeah.
You might have other acquaintances, not friends maybe, whom you cannot connect with because they have a very different lifestyle to yours.
Of course.
So when you try to say that we are all connected, I don't think we are all connected. We are connected to people whom we have the same wavelength with, maybe.
So what about on the scientific level, where we all break down to a molecular scale and the same substance?
Yeah.
So that
it's subjective still.
Of course.
Your consciousness, I think this is what you're talking about, the consciousness, isn't it? And by the way, the science hasn't still grasped with the notion of consciousness because there's no empirical evidence for it.
Exactly.
There's no empirical evidence for it. So they can't observe it under a microscope or in a lab or do experiments on it,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So again, even though they deny the empirical evidence, but they cannot deny the fact that it exists. See what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like a double.
But that's what I mean by the connectivity. Now I feel that because I've had close to death experiences, it's enabled me to see certain things other people don't see.
Go on, give us something that we can understand from your experience.
It's hard to equate because it's my experience.
Yeah, of course.
That's the thing. So when I talk about
we'll try to relate to it.
I just sound like a madman, and people are like, "No, you're mad, fam." And I'm just like, but I know how I experience and I see things, and I can preempt things as well. I can often tell when things are going to happen, or I can tell what energy is coming from a scenario, which I can't explain. There is no logic behind that at all whatsoever.
Can I ask you something, but you don't have to respond?
Okay.
Were you under the influence of drugs when you were having these experiences? You were not?
No. Okay. It's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Because people who are under the influence of drugs, they also have these kind of experiences.
Of course.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So again,
why would you assume that I was under the influence of drugs?
No, that's why I asked you, because I'm not saying I'm assuming, I asked you a question.
Okay.
So I didn't make a statement. If I made a statement, that would be an assumption. It's a genuine question.
But therein lies that like when you do take certain drugs like psychedelics and that, you tap a different level of consciousness that other people don't see. So same as like old herbs and medicines that we take, like say ayahuasca and stuff like that, it puts you to a different consciousness where you see things that other people don't see, and more time there has been a collected level of research and experience that show people have experienced the same things, seen the same things under said it's more like psychedelics, like snakes and temples and shit like that. I've seen some of that.
People under like consuming magic mushrooms might see same things. Maybe
yes,
I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. But I believe that in doing that. So I read this book called I believe in my own religion, but I don't believe to belong to an institution. Yeah. And I've read bare books on religion just because I'm curious about it, because I was involved heavily when I was younger, and I believe like, I read this book called Proof of God. Yeah, Proof of God exists. Yeah, it's written by a neuroscientist of New York, number one like bestseller, and it was written by a neuroscientist explaining that at the time of their death, they went into a coma and they experienced something that they couldn't. They leveled with scientific evidence to show that what they'd experienced was kind of almost impossible. The brain can't function like that, but they experienced this idea of this heavenly realm. Yeah, and I believe that when you do take certain things that change your brain waves, you experience and tap into something similar to what that person did, and it's kind of like what's it called, the third eye. You know, you kind of open that a bit more.
Have you studied Hinduism by any chance?
Tiny bits, but
a lot of what you're saying falls into that category.
Okay,
you see what I mean?
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, or maybe I think it's the Dharmic faith. So it includes Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Hinduism, obviously, and they have a lot of this consciousness. So they believe in panentheism. Does it make sense?
What is that? No, what's
So you heard of pantheism? So there's pantheism and there's panentheism. Pantheism is like the universe is God.
Yeah.
Panentheism is all of the universe is within God.
Okay.
So that's the difference. So they say that there is this collective.
That's still a defining one ruler overall kind of vibe.
So they believe that in panentheism, they believe that there is some sort of universal consciousness,
Okay.
which influences you. Okay. But anyway, again, like one thing about consciousness is that it is going to become subjective. It doesn't matter how or who discusses it.
Yeah, of course.
Eventually, it is subjective.
Yeah,
See what I mean?
course, yeah.
So that's why you cannot have this central, what do you say, consciousness which deals with everyone, everything.
Maybe
where you're
it's something
kind
that
of.
we don't fully understand and what I'm fully seeing yet. Because
Well, I can only tell based on what we experience.
I'm not
We
a
can't.
demigod or some shit
Yeah,
like
we
that,
can't
you know?
tell any other way other than what we experience. You see what I mean?
And our experiences dictate what we know and how we project
So let me ask you this: what made you move away from Christianity, your previous faith, to, I don't know, spirituality? I believe.
Yeah, more
That's how I
spiritual,
would
more
call it. I
spiritual.
don't know.
What
was the thing that-
the flaws within the actual institutions, the man-made sides of things that was more monetary based, more about like people trying to make a living out of other people's beliefs. That's something that always didn't sit so right with me. You know, that's kind of it.
Is that it, or is there more to it?
Kind of, yeah. It's that was the more thing. Also, it was just like I felt it was a bit like if you don't believe in this, then you're not with us, kind of thing. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, if you don't get me, that's fine, fam. But we can still be friends.
Yeah.
You know, like, but like, if, like I believe some more like draconic elements of the church were more like. Like if you don't fuck with our beliefs, then we don't speak to you. You don't belong to us. You are damned.
You're a different club, not our club.
Yeah. You're not in the cool kids club, you know.
Yes. So have you had a chance to look into Islam? By the way, I'm a Muslim, just to let you know. My name is Hashim. You are
Rich.
Rich, very nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
All
Nice
right.
to meet you. Thank you for the conversation.
No
It's really
problem.
interesting.
Have you had a chance to look into Islam?
No, but I'll give it a go.
Okay, so Islam has many elements similar to Christianity. Many elements which I would say are other religions as well. Obviously, to do good, not to harm someone, not to steal, not to drink alcohol as well.
Oh, that's fun though. Why would you avoid that?
You probably know why, based on your
Hey, man,
experiences.
we are the devil and God at the same time.
Based on your
each
experiences.
person, you know?
So what Islam does is like the reason it nips in the bud things like alcohol and even gambling is because the Quran says there's some good in it, but the harm outweighs the good.
Yeah. Because you go to the other side of the.
See what I mean? So there might be, for example,
Yeah, but Jesus was loving the wine shit, wasn't he? So like.
well,
whatever that was,
not
so
from
why-
the Islamic narrative.
No. Okay.
I know in Christianity,
I thought that just made me holy.
in Christianity, the first miracle of Jesus is actually turning water to wine.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was his first miracle.
That's exactly it. So,
Do you know what was the first miracle of Jesus in the Quran?
no.
Okay, so in the Quran, remember when Mary came to her people with a child,
Yeah.
she conceived miraculously.
Yeah,
Now, what was the ruling in a conservative Jewish community if somebody has a child out of wedlock?
They get stoned. Yeah.
Yeah, they're stoned to death.
Bare stoned.
It's turned to that because this is what adultery entailed. This was the capital punishment. So how did she get around that? Christianity doesn't have an answer to that. Islam does.
Okay.
So the first miracle of Jesus in the Quran is that he spoke when he was a baby.
What?
Yes.
came out like.
Well, if you can believe in one miracle, why not the other?
Right, yeah. It's like, you're doing this all wrong, man.
Exactly.
You're doing this all
So
wrong.
the miracle was not only the fact that Mary had a child without a biological father, in her case, the husband, but when she came to the community, she was instructed by God not to speak, but to point to the child. The child was Jesus. And the people were saying, "Are you mad, Mary? How can we speak to the child? It's just an infant, doesn't talk." And she just pointed, and this is when Jesus spoke, and he says, "I am a messenger. I've been given the book, in the good news, the Torah and the Injil, the news of the Torah and Injil by God Almighty. And I come as a prophet bearing this."
Okay.
So I know, as someone who hasn't studied Islam, they might say this as odd, but just like you believe in certain miracles in your life, then this is something that is possible. Yeah. But that wasn't the main thing. The main thing is, look, if God is...
I've got to go, man.
Yeah, just 2 minutes. Yeah?
I'm gonna go.
Oh, no problem.
It's been nice to talk to
Yeah,
you.
take care, mate. Okay. So I just wanted to speak about Islam a bit. So Islam is, alhamdulillah, it's more holistic. The thing is, we believe Allah has created this universe. The universe exists, and we know that it doesn't exist just by itself. There must be someone who brought all of this into existence. And this is where we believe that Allah is the one who brought this into existence, because science goes up to a certain limit where they say, okay, we believe in the Big Bang, we believe in this